Hi there, this is Solitary Ronan from Solitary Ronan Films, and welcome to another episode of Turkey Love. Today I'm giving Turkey Love to the Parole Officer, starring Steve Coogan, directed by John Deegan, from 2001. Now, Steve Coogan has had somewhat of a mixed career on the big screen. On television, he's probably been more successful with the wonderful Alan Partridge and the really underrated Saxondale. Obviously had a big kind of career highlight as far as films with Philomena, as far as being a serious actor. Obviously he's more famous for being his comedy stuff. His show The Trip with Rob Brydon, when they go around different restaurants in Italy and France and the UK, is very good as well. But as far as his theatrical features, being in the Night in the Museum films, he hasn't had that much success. I'll say for The Parole Officer, it's a film that I should absolutely hate, because again, it's another one of these British underdog coming good films that are almost cookie cutter, but I've always had a soft spot for it, and it just makes me laugh, even although a lot of the jokes are really obvious. It's extremely predictable, there's pretty much no surprises in it whatsoever, but for some reason sometimes formulaic can actually be good, and it just amuses me. John Deegan is an interesting director. Spent a lot of time in Australia. I think he became an Australian citizen at one point. He did the really underrated Lawn Dogs with an early performance with Sam Rockwell, which I might have to do a Neglected Gem video on at some point. As far as small town, suburban, gated community America, Lawn Dogs is absolutely fantastic. He also did Romero with Raul Julia, and he did Sirens, and he did a bunch of films in Australia. So he's had a pretty interesting career. This film also stars Lena Headey, again before she was famous, or not famous, but kind of bigger, obviously Game of Thrones and even Dredd, a really good villain in Dredd, 11 years later. But Ben Miller's in it, Stephen Waddington, Om Puri, Stephen Delane is hamming it up quite a lot as a bent copper. Omar Sharif turns up as an enigmatic master criminal. Jenny Agutter as his wife, and as an early, before he was famous, Simon Pegg, little piece with Julia Davis. Simon Pegg, who's coming off Spaced, which for a lot of people, including myself, Spaced is the best thing Simon Pegg has ever done with Jessica Stevenson. But obviously he's now in Mission Impossible and Star Trek films, and so he just appears in one scene with Julia Davis, which is rather amusing. So it's full of like British talent that might go on to bigger and not necessarily better things, but certainly more of a spotlight with things. So it tells the story of Steve Coogan's character, Simon Gardner, who is a parole officer, not a very good one. He's getting a roasting from his bosses as he's getting fired, so he goes from small town in north of England to Manchester, big city, big bad Manchester, which is famous for having lots of guns. and he happens to stumble across Stephen Delane's bent copper murdering somebody. He gets discovered because it's in a stock room of a strip club. Because he's hyperglycemic, he needs to eat carbohydrates, so he has to eat a bag of crisps, which gives him away. And in the chase that ensues, he falls off a rooftop into a canal, gets a condom in the end of his finger, and then wants to report. The following day, he wanders into a police station, wants to report the murder, and of course Stephen Delane's inspector character is the one he's reporting the crime to, but obviously it was Delane that murdered the guy. And he proceeds to, at one point it says, "You can't intimidate me," and then he gives it a go, tells him once he gets to prison, after a few days his arsehole will be like a clown's pocket, which is just a wonderful line, so descriptive. So he slinks back to small town. He obviously has a fancy for Lena Headey's police officer, but he leaves, and then he sees the inspector taking credit for something that I won't go into, and it enrages him so much that he realises there was a security camera taking footage of the murder, so he conspires to go back to Manchester to get the videotape, to clear his name because he's a suspect and has been told by Stephen Delane that if he ever tells anybody then he'll get put in prison and arsehole clown pocket scenario. So he sneaks in, but the boss of the strip club takes the tape and puts it in a vault in a bank. So of course Steve Coogan's character now needs to get a crew to rob a bank, even though he's a parole officer. He's had thousands of criminals through his hands, but only 3 have been rehabilitated. And in a nice little bit of business about the rehabilitation service, and can criminals go straight after being in prison, the 3 people that he's actually managed to rehabilitate are the ones that he asks to break the law again, to break into the bank and steal the videotape, which is a nice little touch. So you get Stephen Waddington, who is basically the muscle, who's now running a fishmongers. You have Ben Miller, who's the computer expert, because you always need a computer expert to rob a bank, and he is a computer salesman. And you have Puri, who was in prison for serial bigamy, which is quite funny, and he is now a council official involved with a roller coaster. And yes, it has a joke on the roller coaster, which we've all seen before, but it still makes me laugh. So this is the crew, and there's also a 16-year-old girl who's a joyrider, who we learn about early in the film, which again I won't spoil. So this is the crew, and they attempt to rob the bank to get the videotape back. There's a lot of nice business about how they're going to do it, which is actually quite clever. There's a wonderful gag where the murder victim's head was removed, and the inspector has a raid on Steve Coogan's house and leaves the head in the fridge, and all hijinks ensue as various members of the household try and hide the head. Again, it's stuff that we've seen before, but it's just done really well. The cast is fantastic. it's just a lot of fun. The one sin it does have is there's a mention of Kieslowski's short film about killing, just completely random, and a couple of characters say yes, it's shit. I mean, obviously that's a joke, because short film about killing is certainly not shit. It's just another one on the conveyor belt of the British underdog comedies, but this one sunk without a trace. I don't think it did any business at the box office. You can kind of see why. Steve Coogan is a kind of, you either like him or you don't, and even if you like him, there's lots of things that he does that you don't actually like. The ending or the last scenes over the credits might have influenced Takashi Kitano when he did Zatoichi. You can use your imagination if you've seen that film, what I'm talking about. So overall, it's one of those films that I should absolutely hate, but I don't. I've always had a soft spot for it, and if you're a Steve Coogan fan, it's obviously well worth a watch. And if you're not, you might get some pleasure just in the kind of mechanics of how they're going to rob the bank, and the other supporting characters. Again, Omar Sharif turning up, because they presume he's dead, or they heard the legend that he's dead. He's got a grave. The legend was he fell into a mincer, and before they could stop produce going out, there's rumour that he ended up in some pies and some pasties, pasties, which got buried under the gravestone. And Jenny Agutter turns up as his wife for like a couple of scenes. It's quality British talent, and like I said, I've always liked it, and it does put a smile on my face. And again, these days, putting a smile on your face is harder and harder to come by. So thanks very much for watching this episode of Turkey Love. Let me know if you've seen The Parole Officer and what you think of it, and hopefully you'll join me again for more Turkey Love. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films saying farewell